Good. Let's get started. See, we have viewers all around the world. Welcome everybody to today's webinar with get our examples from Excel using SpecFlow external data. I'm Andreas Willich. I'm the community at SpecFlow, and your host and presenter today in this webinar. Quick some guidelines for today. Please use the Q&A tool for questions. I will try to answer them all at the end. We have a dedicated Q&A section for that. Please don't ask a question in chat. I can't moderate also this. We will have 2 polls during the webinar, and the recording will be uploaded to our YouTube channel. And we will send all to you an email when it's available there. So if you're very curious, subscribe to our YouTube channel. And click the link to in the chat. Subscribe there. Should be there latest on Monday to show. But let's get started, and let's start with a poll. So quick intro poll. Short questions. Did you ever had the need to get data from an external source, like an Excel file or a CSV or so? Okay, answers are dropping in. Give you 5 more seconds. And thank you. Okay, quite a lot of people, 83%, had the need for it. Good, then I can show you how today a solution for that. And I don't have much slides. Let's jump direct into our code. So as an example, today I'm using our standard calculator example, where we have a normal scenario, and we have also here a scenario outline where we have our examples. And this is it. So this is very simple example, but it covers the minimal stuff what you can do, and gives you an idea what you could do with SpecFlow external data in the future. So what would be nice and is now possible is that you can define these examples not here in your feature file, but you can do it in an Excel file and get from there the data. And with SpecFlow external data, this is not possible, and it's quite easy. And I'll show you how to do it, how you get this from here. The first is you need an Excel file. So I jump to the folder where my feature file is and create a new Excel file. Let's name it also calculator.xlsx. Let's open this, and so we have our empty Excel file, and let's take the stuff what we have here in the examples in our Excel file. So this is first number, second number, expected result, formatted, and then we have here 0, -1, 6, 0, 10, 9. So, and as we are in Excel and not in a text file, we can now use our Excel formulas. So we say equals, and then says first number plus second number, and we scroll this down and we save it. Let's minimize that. We see now we have here a calculator XLSX in our solution explorer. So first step done. What do we else to do? So to use SpecFlow external data, you need to add the NuGet package, and this is SpecFlow external data. Add it to the project. And done. So when we have a quick look before I remove something, in our test explorer, we have here our features. What I didn't mention before is in this example, we are using our SpecFlow actions for Selenium. And with the latest version, we got a new feature that you can have targets, like perhaps if you use the SpecFlow Plus Runner, there we also had targets. So what you can do is with some configuration files here is that you can run your whole scenario suite, in our case, once for Chrome and once for Firefox. So that's why we have our feature, also our features here, and then we have our scenario with this one scenario and the scenario outline. So what do we need to do to get now the data out of our Excel file is we remove the example table. We don't need this. And we can make this to a scenario. The big magic, what we now need to do that this all is working is we need to somehow connect now our scenario with our Excel file. And this is done via tags on the scenario. The first tag is called data source. And there you can specify the file name. And one thing you need to be careful, so tags don't support spaces. So the file name needs to be in one word. And personally, I would suggest put it in the same, if possible, put it in the same folder like your feature file. Then you don't have pass problems. The folder goes from the feature file up. So if you have it one folder down up, you need to go up one folder. So that only specifies the file. The other thing what we need to do is, and I forgot to do this, we need, as Excel has multiple, I have here the German version because this is now it's called Tabelle, but these worksheets have a name, and we also need, if you can have multiple worksheets, so we need also in our Excel case specify which worksheet it should take, and yeah, rename this. And again, can't be spaces in here, so we need to have underscores, and with the tag dataset, add two numbers, we specify which worksheet this is. And when we now rebuild this, what's in the background is, in the background what we are doing is we're reading this the Excel files and get the data from there and generate then the unit tests in the background. sadly, as Excel is somewhat annoying, it makes a file lock on the Excel file, so we need to close this. Yeah. And then we can rebuild, because then only we can read it out. And we got our generated code. So let's run one of the scenarios. Let's see what's happening. And it's failing. So what is failing here? So input string was not in the correct format. Yeah, let's debug it. And input string was not in the correct format, and call stack. Where are the details? I know what is here, and somebody in the chat mentioned it. And I wanted to show you this. You really need to be careful with the matching. From here, we still have our parameters from the scenario outline, but you need really be careful with the matching. I did here a typo, and so it couldn't find the column. Also, this is case sensitive. So if you would have here a capital R, it would also not find the column name. So be careful when you create your Excel files and copy that to the Excel file. So let's save this. Let's build it. Yeah, so what happened now is that because of our stop debugging session, the Chrome driver is still running. So I quickly need to terminate the process. Building again. So let's run this again. And it's green. And as little proof that it's really working, let's add some examples. No, that I didn't. Fill series. Still have here the formulas. And here now the data. When I save this and build the project again, we get now all the variations from our Excel file. And that's it. So quite easy to move your examples to an Excel file, and yeah, you can then add there. And with so and that's where we see this as a possibility to use, and I was in one project where this was needed, is you have, this is easy, but you have complicated Excel files that perhaps you get from your stakeholders, and they say should work like this. You could take these Excel files now as input source for your scenarios. Um, yeah, so that's from there. Um, Excel as a source. What you also can do is as external data plugin, it doesn't only support Excel files. We also support CSV uh, files according to some RFC with header line and so. And there are also some other tags. I don't show you what you can use. You can have this data format if it's not a if it's a CSV, like a CSV file with a different file ending, you still want to have CSV reading support. You need to specify the data format, and you even can rename columns between your external data file and your scenarios that I got. What you also can do is you can combine. You should be able to combine the stuff. So we have now a scenario with what we got all from Excel files. But if you do again a scenario outline, and here examples. This is first number, second number, expected result. 21, 21, 42. And when we compile this now, we should get a 14. 14 test, yes, somewhere here, probably this one. Yeah, the test explorer is not that nice with lots of example, but here is so you can have your static stuff, static example still in your feature file, but have some in your external files. You can mix and match this. Yeah. Should also one thing is perhaps we had in the past a product called SpecFlow plus SpecFlow plus Excel, which SpecFlow external data is the successor of it. One feature isn't in external data and will not get there is you can only define the example tables. Only you can output the example tables into Excel files with SpecFlow plus external data. You could write your whole scenarios in an Excel file. This is not possible. But if you had using SpecFlow plus Excel in the past and you had only your example tables in the Excel file, it should be very straightforward and not that much work to migrate to external data. And if you had SpecFlow plus Excel in the past, now you can have a way to upgrade to newer SpecFlow versions. With that, and yeah, that's is it. SpecFlow external data. We really tried to make this as easy as possible to get Excel data from Excel file or CSV file. And before I go, I see we have already a lot of questions here. Before I start answering your question, I have one question to you. Which data format would you need additionally? So we have support for Excel and CSV files. What would you need? Give you some minutes left. Seconds to answer. In the meantime, I was asked to share some links with you all. Good. Thank you. So I see, um, yeah, majority wants to have a JSON file um, support, and next one is XML. Let's don't get into discussion which is the better format. At least nobody voted for any file support. That's good. So I have now some people said something else in the chat, and yeah, now one can we load PNG files? You PNG image files doesn't really fit into the whole all this text style of working. What we always can do is you can specify the path to your image files in your scenario and pass it then load it then in your code behind file. And yeah, let's go to the Q&A. People are already waiting for that. So what I forgot to say, there you can upvote your questions, and I will go through the number of votes we have this. So if you, I will try to answer all of them in the time frame. But let's see what is possible. So the first one is, will this affect living documentation in any way? Sadly, at the moment not, and this is how this is solved. We can have a look at, can create a living documentation in the meantime. No. So the living documentation is primarily working on the feature files, and so what is here, and it has not yet, is this .NET 6? So, and what we do with how SpecFlow external data is working is that we generate, that when you build the project, we generate into the code behind file all the stuff that is needed for the scenarios. SpecFlow does this always, has since years. So we generate this code here, and what we do is with external data, we add the data from the Excel files into it. So we don't manipulate the feature file here, and with that, it's not in the living documentation. So I can show this to you if I find the file. So yeah, I only have the one scenario here that we have in the feature file yet. This is a shortcoming at the moment. We need to find a solution how to combine this. This is yet we need to solve this. This is not an easy problem, sadly. to solve. Done. So, and with that, I also ask primarily, I think also the next question is, if you're running in a pipeline, do we need to change the property of the file as copy always, or need to pass differently? No, you don't need to do anything. It's do not copy. It's because it's at compile time we generate this. But this also means is if you compile your application at the tests and alter afterwards your Excel file, nothing happens with these changes. So everything what's done, it's at compile time. If you build your project, then the stuff is generated. So that's also a lot living talk. Next question: does order of the variables matter? I assume you mean if the order of these columns in the example table needs to be the same as in the Excel file. No, it does not. It's the mapping is done via the name of the column, so order doesn't matter. Good. Next question. What if I save expected number in file and want to compare them on what is displayed on screen? Lisa, could you elaborate on your question? I don't really get it. What you want to do? Yeah, if you could add a comment to the question, that would help. Let's go to the next one. Can I use it in a background? No, you can't, because backgrounds don't have parameters for a scenario outline, and you define a background. A background is for all scenarios in a feature file. So this background effect doesn't not only affect this scenario, but also this scenario, which don't get data anywhere from an Excel file. And yeah, and has no support for parameters. So no, you can't use it in the background. Next question is, can we pull the Excel from external source with basic authentication? You need to, it needs to be accessible from the server. It runs under under your user, but is the build is executed. So we make a file open on this Excel file. Nothing more, nothing less. So the user that is currently running all the stuff needs to have access to the Excel file that you can get it and read it out. Good question. Sandeep, will this work with all unit testing frameworks? Yes, it will. In this example, I'm using XUnit, but this works in all 3 unit test runners that SpecFlow is supporting. This works at XUnit, NUnit, and MS Test. So the question is, but that's only pulling the Excel file from the source code. What if I want to pull it from a different location, local drive, shared drive? You can, or let me quickly check the documentation. As far as I know, you can also have here an absolute path to the file. So if you say it's C temp something, this should also be work. So you can have relative path or absolute path in the data source. And then still the user needs access to this file. Will this, next question from Sadeep, will this reduce readability as examples are put in an external file? My personal opinion, yes. Because you need to now look in two places to understand the scenario. If you have it, you have the steps in one and the data, the input data in another one. It's yeah, it's but for some examples, this would be nice still to have, because you need Excel for some other reason. You have complicated calculations. You get the prepared Excel files with examples from your stakeholders, your shareholders, and you could directly use it. You know this example is true. So you need to define this for yourself and see for yourself if this is feasible or not. It depends on your situation. If I get prepared Excel files with, okay, these are the working examples, I would take them and don't copy stuff over, because copying stuff over, it's complicated, or not complicated. It's, you can get errors, copy and paste errors. We all done it. So I would use directly the Excel file. So it always depends on the situation. I wouldn't start now only because SpecFlow external data is there. Move all my examples to Excel files simply there. One other reason it could be simply is as far as I know, Excel files are a little bit easier to edit in an online in Azure DevOps, like directly in the repositories. So it's also a little bit accessibility. It all depends how your team is set up. So it depends on, so sadly. Next question from Paul. Any plans to extend to JSON? Let's see. That's why we put in the poll. The poll questions. Which format to use? But one thing, what is the nice thing about SpecFlow external data, also in the difference SpecFlow plus Excel, SpecFlow external data is completely open source. So it's in the main SpecFlow repository. Here's the source code. I post the repository in the chat. And here's the source code, and we have here the various I think loaders, where we have CSV and Excel loader. So it's an open source project. So if you would like to see JSON support sooner than later, send us a pull request, and I'm always happy to review them. I also help you get started with contributing to SpecFlow, and if you run into problems, reach out to me. That's also my job, to help new people start contributing to SpecFlow. And yeah, have a look at the existing code. It's we tried to have a simple solution here. So this is all what is needed to pass Excel files. It fits on screen. And if you do contribute to SpecFlow in code or in other ways, short reminder, we have a Community Heroes program, where every month we award people with this award, and you get an Amazon voucher and so on. So there's also a small monetary benefit of this. So just a short reminder, please, because there is a lot of discussions in the chat. If there are questions you want me to answer, please put them in the Q&A tool. There are a lot of questions there already, so that I can have an overview what is already answered and not. So I lost the question. So next question: can we change the date format? Yeah, one comment. Yeah, from Andreas is, yeah, you can send it as a string and pass in a step definition. The other way is you can also, it's in the examples here. It takes the language, but this changes the whole language of the country. So I would, and I did this always also in my projects, pass it in a string and then parse it manually with the format you want to use. There are ways to define for SpecFlow, but if you're in a mixed project setup, so we had people in Austria, people in Hungary with English, Austrian, Hungarian, and other regional settings. And yeah, at the end, we come to a conclusion to format, use this everywhere, and use the correct format string to pass that. So next question by Alan. Do you have any plans to create a SpecFlow data files that can go in a data behind files? I have. Can you elaborate on this also a little bit? I'm not sure what you meaning. So I continue with the next question. Should we not mention the directory path where we place the Excel? So as I said, it's default. It's the same. The data source. It's either a absolute path or it's a relative path, and then the current directory. The current directory for this operation is the folder where the feature file is. And from there, you can go relative where you want. So you can go up and then again down. And that's, wasn't it? That's how you define how to get to the feature file. So, 2 questions in a row. Can you only put the data in Excel? No, you can also use CSV. So bigger question by Brian. This is not even close to the functionality we had in SpecFlow Excel, which we're having using thousands of tests in Excel, which generates a feature file. Excel makes understanding of all the numbers very easy, but they're not simple example tables as what you showed today. SpecFlow. Okay, so what you're missing is that you have the whole scenario defined in Excel. And use it from there. At the moment, we don't plan to reintroduce this feature in SpecFlow external data. It's all about getting the example data out of the feature file. So it's not that. So we don't plan it. As said, it's an open source project. So if we get pull requests, or for that, we can talk about this and see where it fits, or we generate something else. But external data is at the moment it's only getting the examples out of the Excel file. But Brian, if you like, you can reach out to me and we can discuss how if there are other ways to get you to a newer version of SpecFlow and how to unblock your spec with your SpecFlow plus Excel dependency. So back to the question from Alan about the plans to create a SpecFlow data files that can go into the data behind file. So it means like a code behind file, it moves the data into a separate file that is linked to the feature file, and clickable links that can reveal the data in the feature file. I think what you want are embedded resources. So what you always can do is, and this is standard.NET stuff. So we have a bitmap. You can say build action embedded resource, and this bitmap, when you build it, is now embedded into your test assembly. And you can, don't know the API by default, but you can read out with some reflection on the assembly. You can get to all those resources and get from there the file. So what you can do is write then a binding, a step definition, step binding, where you give him the name, and this looks then into your embedded resources and goes there. That's how you solve the problem with clickable links. It could be that bitmap 1 BMP. No, it isn't. I was thinking perhaps in the Visual Studio extension we have here marked on where we can follow the URLs, but perhaps it's a file. And yeah, but doesn't work open it. At least you would have it then in Living Doc. So, but this is something we could fix in the Visual Studio extension, that you open also here then the file. But this is, I think, have a look at the embedded resources to solve this problem for you. Next question by Matt. Can we use this to add tables to specific tabs or just add examples? This is at the moment just for examples, not for data tables that you can have in a step. But you can get, what you can do is scenario data table parameter, given I have a data table, name, value, something. What you can do in data tables is you can put parameters into data tables. So first number. You can do this and get in that way the data from your Excel file. But be careful, every line in an Excel file is one example. So you have to flatten this out in a lot of columns. Is there a use case for Excel or any other external data to be used in background? This will help with maintainability a lot, especially when the same background steps are used in different feature files. As answered before, you can't use it in a background because the parameters are simple everywhere there. So we have, like I said before, this is only for this scenario outline, not for this scenario. What value do you use for parameters in the background? Question from Sandeep. How about reading data from a database table? Theoretical possible. The problem is here simple. Tags, because of limitation, the Gherkin language, tags can't have spaces there. And providing and this makes it hard to write a select statement here. And personally, this makes it even quite harder to understand the scenarios as in an Excel file. An Excel file is double click away to see it filed. Getting then the data from an database is and have a look where it's there. It's even more complicated and reduces the readability of your scenarios. Next question from Robert. Does the Excel file need to be embedded resource? No, does not. It's needs to be there as at compile time. So I did nothing with the Excel file. I created this Excel file in Explorer and did nothing here in the project file nothing changed here. So when we have a look at the project file, don't see anything for this Excel file. It's all done at compile time. Next question from Femi. It's not a straight update. Do we have to get in touch with you to get the latest features? If you have question, get in touch with me. Or best way is doing this in our community forum. Here, then I can also share also this link with you. Yeah, ask here your question. I'm monitoring this here. That's the best method for that, and also other see the discussions and can join it. But what I showed you how today are the latest features. So I didn't show not any features. Next question. The way we have a patch POI library in Java to work with Excel files, do we have anything similar in SpecFlow C#? So for reading Excel files, okay, it's a little stretched question. We using in the external data file, external data plugin, this Excel data reader library. The other one that I use most of the time is called closed XLS. No, closed XML. Yeah, it's called closed XML. But it's about reading Excel files. It's about this open XML standard, and that's the joke behind it. So that's the two libraries to read Excel file or manipulate Excel files in .NET that I know of. Good, that we have. So next, George, about another one of the relative paths in the future. Yeah, can be referenced to higher, as high up you want. Next question. Other question is, which one will be fast? Excel, VBA macros, or SpecFlow? For for what? What are you comparing? And what are you doing? Quite different tools that do quite different stuff. So if you want, please elaborate on this one. That's dismiss. Okay, so a lot of another question about JSON data. I said it's not there yet, so if you want to contribute, then let me know. Next question is, can we use different files or sheet for test steps rather than having the Excel file on a scenario level? No. No. This is external data brings the example table into your other file. So one line in the other file is one example. And yeah, if you need data tables with parameters, as I showed, you can do it that way. So you would, for a complete example, you would need something like this. That's what is possible. Okay. So quick look. There are some question to the question from Lisa was answered. So question from Patrick. He has issues with upgrading from 3.0 to 3.9. Also, always happy to help with people upgrading if there are problems. We always try to make the upgrades as easy as possible. So always try that it's only update of the NuGet packages. If you have problems, please reach out to us at best in the community forum, and I will try to help you unstuck. Normally, it's updating the NuGet packages, rebuild that all the code behind files are generated, and that should be it. I would need some error messages, Patrick, to be more helpful and give you more concrete direction what the problem is. So 3 minutes left. 2 questions. What I see, a little bit off topic, but I'm happy to answer the questions. Any extension used that are helpful when developing automated tests using SpecFlow? The most important extension is our own. For Visual Studio, which makes all the syntax highlighting and IntelliSense and so possible. Extensions for IDEs, not really, but one thing what we did in the last months, invested a lot of time, are on libraries and helpers, and in that case I have to point you to the SpecFlow actions. and I think we have it also on our website under code examples. So what we're trying is, we heard from our users, it's not always easy to get started with automation stuff. And what we did is we created some helper libraries, SpecFlow Actions we call it, that makes the working with different automation solutions like Selenium, Playwright, and Docker, and so Boil Constrictor much easier, and solves problems like browser stack. And so it's more about libraries than extensions. And yeah, we already did some webinars. There are recordings on our YouTube channel about various SpecFlow actions. So have a look at them. And yeah, and there will be some in the future about newer actions also. Good. And the last question for today. How about rerun failing tests and examples? There was in the now retired SpecFlow browser, there was a retry functionality. Now not anymore available because the product is retired. There are some community plugins for SpecFlow for X unit and for N unit to add this functionality that is automatically retrying. The one is X retry SpecFlow. That's the one for X unit. And the other one is N unit retry SpecFlow plugin. No, not that. Or yes, that's for N unit. So that's are the two solutions at the moment for retrying failed scenarios and examples. Good. A lot of questions today. Thank you all. And as our time is now at the end, want to point again to our YouTube channel and our community forum. Recording will go up in the next days. Use our community forum to ask questions. I'm there and checking it multiple times a day to help you and get unstuck with your issues. That's the best place, and also get help from other community members. And yeah, thank you all for joining, and I hope I see you in the next webinar. Bye.